Cobra DVS here with a pickups video for a handful of things I got recently. Before we get into the pickups video, really quick, I want to touch on, or give you guys a really quick plug for my podcast that I'm doing with Derek's Game World, or Hunter. He's been the Zohan Gamer, the King of 8-Bit, several channels. Anyway, it's an hour-long, hour and 20-minute podcast that we've been doing. We've got 2 episodes up so far. It's called the Infrequent Jog Podcast. The name is silly, I know, and it's that way on purpose. So it's not bad without the intention of it being bad. So don't get that impression. But the thing about the name is, if anybody can guess what it actually means, then there's a $10 certificate to Xbox Live, Steam, Nintendo eShop, PSN, whatever the winner prefers, that I'll send their way. So a little stake in the game for you. But basically the gist of the show is it's an hour-long gaming podcast. We'll talk about stuff that's happened in the past 2 weeks. We do it every 2 weeks. News or any notable events, announcements, things like that. We do spotlights of a retro game and a modern game every week, and we'll alternate who does which every week. We'll do random pieces of trivia to round out the show, just kind of a send-off of, hey, here's a little known fact. And then also there's one more thing, 2 things. We do games that we're playing right now, we talk about those games, and then games that we're looking forward to. So it's been a great time to record so far, and I hope you guys tune in. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about pickups. Figured it's been a little while since I've done a pickups video. I haven't really gotten a lot of stuff, but oftentimes I'll get stuff and just sort of put it on the shelf and then forget about it, and it just won't make it in a video. So there's not a ton here, but it's some pretty cool stuff, I think. One of them's got a funny story with it. Actually, the best thing in the whole video has a funny story with it. So, I hope you guys are all doing well in the quarantine. I guess the good thing about having, we'll just call it 1,000 video games, whatever it is, in your house, is that you really kind of never run out of things to do. But if you're actually a person that has that many games in their house, you find out pretty quickly, even though you have all those, you still don't have anything to do because you never really feel like playing them all. And it's a sad truth of it, but hey, it's an unusual circumstance, so just got to deal with it. Anyway, I got a handful of stuff here that has been keeping me mostly busy. And I wanted to show that to you here. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. So the first thing I got is the only Japanese Sega Saturn game that I have now. I do have an action replay, so I think I'm going to start maybe getting a couple of them. The one I want the most is probably Dracula, or Symphony of the Night. And I know it's the inferior port, but it's also the version of the game that has me the most curious because I want to try it out and see what it's all about. I already beat at least the first half of the PlayStation version, so I thought it'd be interesting to see what the Saturn version is like. And it's an expensive game, but it's kind of hovered around the same price for years, so I don't really see it going up or down, and occasionally you'll find somebody in the States that'll sell it for a pretty good price, so I'll just hold out on it and hopefully pick that up. But anyway, the one I got is much less interesting to most people, but it's The Masters. I don't know the full title of the game. The whole thing's in Japanese. But The Masters, if you follow golf at all, is one of the 4 major championships that they play at the same course every year. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's one of the 4 major championships, and it's the only one that they play at the same course every year, and that course is Augusta National. It's in Georgia. And it's an extremely private course or privileged kind of place, so you do not see it in video games like ever. You'll see Pebble Beach, you'll see, all those kinds of courses on games, but you never see Augusta. And as far as I know, it's only showed up twice. This game, and then it's in a couple of the Tiger Woods games, 2013 and 2014, I think. I don't know if it was in 15, and I don't even know if they did a 16. Anyway, it's in 13 and 14 at least. I think this is probably the first time it showed up, at least in any sort of like noticeable way. And by that I mean you can actually tell that it's Augusta. I mean, they could have put Augusta on NES, but you'd never know it. I did play 9 holes. I've only played 9 holes so far, and it's actually a pretty good golf game. It's not the greatest. It's not Mario Golf fun. It's more of a simulator type golf, but it is pretty good. It's a lot like a lot of golf games of this era, the same thing, a 3-button kind of press system. The game is in Japanese, but the title screen or the gameplay screen is all mostly English, so it's pretty easy to actually learn how to play. This is a cool game. If you follow golf at all, this is a cool one to have. So I'm excited about that one. This one, I can't remember if I had showed this in my last video or not, and I can't remember if I got it by that point or not. I may have already showed it. I don't know. What about The Witcher on Switch? What they call the Switcher nowadays. It's kind of a nickname, but I saw on the Switch News thing on the actual console where they do like announcements and stuff that they actually called it the Switcher on that too. Again, just a nickname, but I guess that kind of officializes it a little bit. I've put maybe 2 to 3 hours in this game so far. Apparently it's a really good port. I've not played the original version of it, so I have no idea how good or bad the game looked before. I'm imagining it's probably a game that runs in 4K 30 frames or something like that on the Xbox One X or PS4 Pro or something like that. Certainly that's not the case here. It looks passable and it runs pretty well. The game itself, so far, I've found to be a little bit on the... what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit too much, and this is just personal taste because I know a lot of people like this about the game. A lot of story going on, a lot of talking, a lot of selecting phrases to respond to other people. The exploration is pretty fun. So I don't know if I'll end up putting a ton of time into this or not. I'd really like to, but I did want to pick it up out of a curiosity's sake anyway. And it comes in a cool outer shell. Inside is just, what is inside? It's the game, and then, I can't remember what else is in here. Is it a soundtrack? Yeah, it looks like a soundtrack, some maps, stuff like that, but pretty cool. Okay, just 2 more things. Kind of. Actually 3. If you have been listening to that podcast, you would know I was really looking forward to Doom Eternal. There she be. I picked up the deluxe edition, which I think it was it was 80 instead of 60 for the regular edition. Regular was 60. This one was 80, and it came with the season pass. And I'm normally totally against season passes. And the only reason I bit on this one is because they're doing campaign DLC, which is the only thing I care about in these games. I don't care about the multiplayer. I play it for the solo experience, and so if they're going to do more of this, then I wanted to be there. It came with a steelbook, which I, of course, forgot to grab. But it looks a lot like this. It's just a steelbook. Excuse me. I have beaten this game. It came out the 20th, and now it's the 29th, 8th, I can't remember. Really enjoyed it. I will tell you this, super difficult. I played it on Ultra Violence. It's very difficult. But really, once you get into it and start playing the way the game is meant to be played and learn the way it's meant to be played, wow, it's really something. I gotta tell you. Not perfect. I'm not without my complaints, but I gotta tell you, as a follow-up to 2016's Doom, it was awesome. Really awesome, and I can't wait for the next one. Probably another 3 or 4 years for that, but I don't mind waiting. Those guys know what they're doing. Okay, so the pickup. This was the big pickup, we'll call it. This was the one. This was a Facebook marketplace deal, and in the midst of this coronavirus thing, I picked this up right kind of as that was happening. So this guy had a listing of an original Xbox and some stuff, some games, and normally it would not appeal to me at all. He was asking $125, which for anything original Xbox, $125 is pretty much outrageous. But I made an exception. So I'll just go ahead and show it, and then I will tell the the funny story that goes behind it. It came with 2 blue controllers. These are obviously the mini ones, brand new. Guy said, not brand new, but like new. The guy said he bought this for his kids, never played it. So typically an Xbox I would never really care to buy. I already have one. I have a Halo green one. But this I can make an exception for. It is the Halo edition, but in the box. So I'll show you it all there. It's in really nice shape. It's got everything inside. Except I think there's a Halo 2 demo that it's supposed to come with. That's not in here. It has the cords, has everything. It even had the styrofoam that the console sits in, and the cardboard tray that the cords rest in on top of the system. Originally, or I think it's actually down here. Originally, I didn't think that was in there, but it was. I just didn't know really what I was looking at. So the guy went on $125 for this, and then it came with a couple of games, and then I'll tell the story. So I'll leave that here. It came with Halo 1. Halo 1's in here. Halo 2, I didn't even bother pulling it off the shelf. It was the collector's edition in the steelbook. No slipcover, but I did actually have a slipcover, oddly. Really good shape. Other than that, nothing. I can't even remember what else it came with. Not anything worthwhile. But it did come with a couple of interesting things. A couple of PC games. In the box. First one, Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow. I've only played one Splinter Cell game, and that was Blacklist on Wii U, and I thought it was fine. I don't know how well received that one is. There is a Splinter Cell game, and I cannot remember which one it is, that is super, super well regarded, and I don't know if it's Pandora Tomorrow or if it's another one. Either way, I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to bother. My PC doesn't even have a disc drive to play this, and if I wanted to, but I thought it was pretty cool. And this one was even cooler. The original Halo on PC. It actually came with 2 copies of this. They're basically identical, so no sense in showing them both. But I thought this was pretty cool. I don't have a lot of PC games, but I do enjoy the big boxes. And these are like a moderate size compared to an Xbox 360 game. You can see they're kind of not that much bigger. You know, certainly not the 90s style, but I thought that was pretty cool too. I don't know why those were in there. I have no idea. And then it came with the 2 controllers. Obviously, it does have the Halo controller in here also, which is pretty cool. So actually, in this very moment, you can see when I forgot that I was going to include the funny story about this. And so I'm going to just slide that in here, make it real quick. So this was right as that coronavirus thing was sort of starting to ramp up, and this guy was fully invested in protecting himself. So he sent me a message and said, okay, we'll meet at this gas station. I'll open up the back hatch. He had a Jeep. I'll open up the back hatch. You can just grab the system in the games, and then I asked him if he wanted cash or if he wanted me to use like PayPal or something, so he didn't have to touch anything. He said cash is fine, but please put it in an envelope. So I went to a gas station that had an ATM, got cash out, put it in an envelope. Met the guy. I wasn't even sure if he was going to come out of his car or if he just expected me to grab the stuff and leave the money. He did come out. We didn't shake hands. We stood a few feet apart. And I grabbed the stuff. He told me a little bit about it. I grabbed it. And then I went to hand him the money. He says, oh, you can just throw that in the back. So I literally threw an envelope of money that he didn't even count or know that there was money in there into the back of his Jeep. We went our separate ways, and that was that. Pretty strange encounter. That being said, now, 2 weeks later, or a week later, I don't know if I'd even go out and meet somebody. But it was an interesting story anyway. Now, I do have another Xbox, the Halo Edition Xbox. It's not in that good a shape. This one's really nice. So I'm going to hang on to this one. I'm not sure if I'm going to sell the other one or not. I haven't really decided. But what it did make me think of was, a lot of people collect for GameCube. A few people collect for PS2. You don't hear a lot about Xbox. And I don't really know why that is. I know it was probably the least... I don't know if it sold more or less than the GameCube did. But it seems to be the unsung hero sort of that era that not a lot of people talk about. So I kind of got in the back of my mind, I was like, what if we started collecting a little bit of Xbox? And as soon as I started looking around at some of the games for the console that I didn't really know about, everybody knows Halo, stuff like that. Everybody, Knights of the Old Republic, those kind of games. But what about the other ones that I have no idea what they even are. Well, I found a list, and I've picked one of them up here I want to show you. And I haven't played it yet. But if I saw this game on the shelf, I would have avoided it like the plague. The game's called Painkiller Hell Wars. It's a first-person shooter, and it is... I'll show you. Let's see if you can kind of make out the back of the box here. I don't know how blurry that will be. Probably very. It's a first-person shooter on Xbox, and it's also on PS2, I think, and probably PC. But it's like a Halloween-type game. When I say Halloween-type, I mean think like castles and skeletons, and I don't know if these are demons or what they are. Yeah, Hell's wildest incarnations, I guess. Hell Wars. And it's supposed to be pretty decent, so I wanted to give it a shot. Now, stupid me, I bought it $10 on eBay. Didn't even check if it had a manual. Of course it doesn't. So I wound up buying a disc and manual only copy just so I could get a manual, complete it. And it just hasn't arrived yet. So I have no idea if this is going to be fun or not. I figure coming off of Doom Eternal, maybe I'll need something a little more mundane or something a little toned down. That game's intense to play, so that's what this is going to be. And there's a lot more that I want to get. A lot of games that I played in the era and a lot that I haven't. So there's a handful more that I want to play. So anyway, that's it for the pickups video. Again, make sure you check out the podcast if you haven't already. Let us know what you think. And remember to guess about the name for the $10 certificate or gift card. And yeah, I got other video ideas planned. And so hopefully I'll be doing those sooner or later. And yeah, we'll just keep slugging it out in quarantine. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing great, and we will catch you next time.